Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Burn and Learn, the Cigar Lifestyle Podcast. I'm joined here by my co-hosts, Sid Fuchs, and our special guest, Teresa Wessling. I will let them both introduce themselves.
You go first as the guest.
Well, thank you, Sid.
Yeah.
I'm Teresa Wessling. I am a tobacconist at Georgetown Tobacco in Washington, D.C. I'm really excited to be here tonight. So thank you, Steve. Thanks, Sid.
Very glad to have you.
Glad to have you.
Sid?
It's going to be fun. So my name is Sid Fuchs. I've been friends with Steve Mann for over 20 years. Most recently retired as a CEO and started my career as a CIA operations officer. Originally from New Orleans, I love bourbon and cigars and play my guitar.
Very nice. Well, we're very excited to have this opportunity to have a very nice conversation and enjoy a great stick this evening with Teresa and Sid. Again, we want to first start out by thanking both Justin and James at Rebellion Cigar Room for allowing us to continue to use the venue for this occasion. So we're excited, and with that, very excited to figure out kind of what the selection is for our smoke for this evening.
Great. So this is the Caucus. So Georgetown Tobacco is owned by David Burkebile, who opened the store when he was 24 years old, and it's now 61 years old.
Wow.
And this is David's blend. So he went down to Honduras and spent some time with Rocky Patel, and Sumatra Oscuro wrapper was David's favorite. So that's where he started. And then the rest of the blend is Honduran and Nicaraguan. I say these are the best cigars under $10 in the store.
Under 10, wow.
For a Toro, I think it's like $8.95. And it is definitely a regular in my repertoire. So I'm excited to enjoy that tonight.
And you can only buy those at Georgetown Tobacco?
You can only get those at Georgetown Tobacco.
Okay.
Very nice. Very nice.
May I?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, you have to wait.
No, I can't wait anymore.
Sid, what do you have for this evening?
I've got this Davidoff that Teresa has been so nice to provide. Can you give a little bit about this one?
Sure. So this is a special limited edition 10th anniversary Escurio. 10 years ago was the first time that Davidoff introduced using Brazilian tobacco in a cigar. And so to celebrate that 10-year anniversary, they created this specific blend. It's a 56 by 6. So aged Brazilian tobacco that only Davidoff has in their inventory, combined with a Dominican filler that has been aged in a bourbon cask, so sort of offsetting the spiciness of that Brazilian Matafina is this great kind of naturally sweet Dominican bourbon aged tobacco. Brazilian binder, and then the wrapper is grown in Ecuador. And I've smoked more. Normally I try to leave these for customers. I've smoked more than a few of these now. I think it's fantastic.
So you make an exception for us, though, right?
It's a special occasion.
It's got
bourbon,
it's bourbon infused too, you said, right?
Not infused, just that tobacco. So they literally have bourbon barrels. If you've seen the bourbon barrels,
sure.
And they'll put the leaves of tobacco in the barrel and leave them there for about 6 months.
Okay.
They rotate them about 3 months in.
Right.
And it just, so you get that essence of bourbon.
Is that after the barrel is charred?
That's a good question. That's more bourbon knowledge.
But it's after that barrel has been used for bourbon.
Yeah.
So it's probably charred, right?
Charred,
so
yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Awesome. Can't wait to smoke it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, my pleasure.
No, I've read a lot about these, and I've been waiting for the opportunity.
I'm glad I can make that happen.
So I'm super excited about that.
Are we cutting now?
We're ready to.
All right, let's do it. Let's light it up.
We're ready.
So what pairs well with your Georgetown Tobacco cigar? What do you like to drink with it?
I'll be honest, I'm a big fan of if you like what you're smoking and you like what you're drinking, they go great together.
They go great together? That's a good way to look at it.
So good.
I'm a big fan of bourbon, and I've been drinking. I was able to get some bottle of Weller's recently, which you can hardly get anymore, right? So it's going really well with it. And I've tried to put in the bitters. Steve told me about putting a couple of shots of bitter.
A bit of bitters
in it, and it really adds a nice flavor to the bourbon.
Right? Yeah, I really enjoy the opportunity to have a stick here at Rebellion. They're obviously known for their bourbon selection. The building itself is over 200 years old in a historic area in downtown Leesburg. So great venue to have a conversation like this, a great venue for a private cigar lounge. And one of the things I really like is, again, the opportunity for a stick, but also to pair it with some very nice bourbons, right? And so some of the things, I can find bourbon here that I can't get in other places.
Right.
One of my favorites is Elmer T. Lee.
You can get that here?
You can get that here.
Wow.
Now, I can't tell you, like, they get, I think, a single bottle at a time, and I think
sure.
typically I drink through. I think I've had all the bottles. But and after that, Blanton's, and then E.H. Taylor, or some of the others that you can get here
Yeah.
that are hard to get other places. So
Right.
It's a great opportunity for
Right.
that.
Right. Good. So both you guys were down for the conference, right?
Yes.
Do you want to talk about what you saw and how it was and what you learned?
So we should say what the conference is,
Yeah, it's
right?
the
It's the
PCA,
Premium Cigars. So
Cigar-
PCA is the Premium Cigar Association, and every year we have an annual trade show that is for retailers to attend, and every manufacturer is there, whether it's a cigar manufacturer, pipes, pipe tobacco, accessories, all the lighters and humidors. And I know, Steve, it was your first time at the show, so I actually think it'd be great to start with Steve.
Yeah.
Because
And that was at the Memorial Convention Center on the river, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I would say, I've talked about this in earlier podcasts, and I think I was sharing this with Teresa. I started smoking cigars right after undergrad. My first role, I went to work at a bank in Baltimore, and I was paired up with a number of senior lenders, and they kind of introduced me to cigars as well as bourbon. So I developed that appreciation, and I developed that liking over a number of years. But I say all that to say, like, I've been really kind of a regular aficionado probably for the past 10 or so years. And so I lived in Seattle. I moved back to DC area in 2018. And as soon as I moved back, a brand new shop opened close to my house. So I went to that shop, and there were guys in there talking about PCA, right? And I just didn't know what it was. And as they talked about it more, I'm like, wow, that sounds like something I'd really love to do.
But you have to be a retailer or a guest of a retailer to attend, right?
Right. So all the retail shops will have invites, and they'll bring staff to the show. So one of the first thing that I noticed, I was completely overwhelmed with the number of people, right? Like,
oh, really?
No matter how big I thought the show was going to be, it was much larger.
It's over 5,000. So I'm also on the board of the Premium Cigar Association.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. So I've got the numbers are fresh in my head. It's over 5,000 attendees to the show. It's a big.
Wow, that's more than I thought you would get.
Yes. So that was the first thing I thought was just amazing, just the sheer number of people, and the fact that it was a nonstop movement. There was always something to do. And as you know, like when I travel a lot. When I travel, I try to go to different lounges.
Yeah.
And so you know how you have that friendly, very friendly atmosphere when you go into a lounge because everyone has cigars in common. Think about that, but 5,000 of your closest friends. Right. So it was a very friendly, very humbling, and an awesome opportunity for me to kind of experience that. So that's kind of the general setting. And then I think the beginning of the first day when we went onto the convention floor, again, completely overwhelmed for what I saw, right?
Right.
You walk into the convention center in New Orleans, and the entire floor is full of exhibitors, right? So you have hundreds of exhibitors and thousands of participants kind of milling about, going on appointments or going and meeting with manufacturers, which was awesome. But the coolest part was the floor opened at 10, and there were people waiting at 10. Once you went into the convention floor, you could smoke.
Okay.
So you couldn't smoke. So you couldn't smoke in the waiting area in the vestibule.
Right.
But as soon as it opened at 10 a.m., people were lighting up.
Wow.
And by noon, everyone was smoking. So I hadn't seen anything like that.
You had to burn your clothes when you were done?
Basically, no, I just.
It's not that bad.
It wasn't that bad, but it was really cool just to see that the camaraderie, just the expertise that everyone had around their particular line, in the way that they talked passionately about their products. It's very impressive. And then in the evenings, there were always events that were very nicely curated.
Right.
And so it ended up being a really nice time.
So you talked about the number of visitors. Teresa, in your business, are the number of cigar smokers increasing, staying the same, going back? I mean, what's the market look like? Is it expanding?
It's interesting. So our business is up, which is great, 2024 over 2023. we certainly talk about in the industry, COVID brought sort of a mini boom.
Yep.
I started in the industry back in 1996,
Okay.
which was the thick of what we refer to as the cigar boom.
Okay.
But there are actually more cigars imported into the United States in 2024 than in any other year. So
Really?
that's a clear indicator that the industry is still growing.
Right.
I help, it's one of my favorite things to do is help people who are new to cigar smoking and they come in the store for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
which can be an intimidating experience, and be able to take someone through and introduce them to it, teach them the right way. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I probably get to do that. It feels like every day,
Yeah.
Oh, that's
but
great.
you know, it's certainly every week we're helping new people learn.
So the market's expanding those.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And women, you know, are that's one of the fastest growing segments of the industry,
Right.
are women smokers.
Interesting that more cigars have been imported.
Yeah.
How are the? I mean, do we have a local, U.S. based type? It's kind of hard,
So
I guess, though. With,
So from a tobacco standpoint, there's a Pennsylvania broadleaf. There's
Right.
still some Connecticut shade wrapper being grown in
Connecticut. Okay.
J.C. Newman in
Mhm.
Florida has,
Okay.
you know, great, and there's Ybor City in Tampa. There's
Oh,
some
sure.
great.
Yeah.
One of our favorite boutique brands is Martinez. It's a
Mhm.
50-year-old cigar factory right in Midtown Manhattan.
Is it really? Wow.
Yeah, but
It's
it's
beautiful.
very, very small. So like
Yeah.
the business
So
is
it's more boutique oriented.
it's the Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, Honduras. Nicaragua being the biggest source of U.S. imports, and then the Dominican Republic followed by Honduras.
So I have another question, unless you want to.
Yeah, no, I would just add, I mean, I think like when I was doing research for StogieHub, and we'll talk about that a little later, I think in 2023, according to the CDC, there are over 9 million cigar smokers in the U.S., right? And probably 50% of those consider themselves to be premium cigar smokers.
Right.
And I think that number year over year is up around 9 or 10%.
My guess it's more than that because not everybody's honest when they fill out those surveys, right? Say, no, I don't
True.
smoke. No,
Yeah.
right.
Most
right.
likely, right? And
Yeah.
so when you think about 9 million smokers with a 9 or 10% growth rate,
That's great. It's a lot of
you have to
expansion.
imagine that
Yep.
shipments and deliveries and sales
Right.
are moving up in that same general trend.
Right.
So it's to me a market that continues to grow, and it's somewhat not necessarily recession proof, but it's been proven to increase year over year in spite of the economic cycles that we're going through.
Right.
It's a comfort.
It's
At
a
the
comfort.
end of the day, I
Mhm.
mean,
Right.
we're all concerned about a recession and how that can impact business. But so maybe you're smoking a caucus instead of, you know, something.
Yeah, right.
Those choices
Right.
are, but this is a companion and a comfort.
It's like keeping the ABC stores open during COVID, right? Everybody had to have their
Yeah.
drink, right?
That's
But
it.
we weren't allowed to stay open. They didn't consider cigars essential.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's not big enough industry. Well, it's big as the alcohol industry.
They didn't
Of
ask
course
the right.
not.
They didn't ask the right people.
That's
Well,
true.
You didn't-
Right.
no, you didn't pay the right people.
Right.
So, question. So, all the years I've been smoking, all you've heard is Cubans, right? And do you think that first of all, I'd like to hear you comment where you think the quality of the Cubans are, and if the Nicaraguans, Dominicans are sort of catching up or surpassing that quality, or how's that market look today?
So my expertise is in obviously the cigars that are available to
Of course,
us.
of
That
course.
said, I'm a cigar smoker, and every
Right.
time I've traveled, of course, I've purchased Cuban cigars in other countries. Customers are kind enough to bring them to me because we all want to share
Right,
what we love.
sure.
I'll say a few things. One, a few years ago, when a Chinese interest purchased a 51% portion of Habanos S.A., the international distributor of Cuban cigars, they took the wholesale price list and multiplied it by 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Overnight, cigars that were $20 were now $60.
Right.
And so to me, and I think to any of us who really enjoy a great cigar, you may not even mind the price increase as long as the quality is there.
Right.
And, I was in Buenos Aires maybe 2 years ago now, and I found a beautiful tobacconist right in Buenos Aires. It's called Tabacalera Iglesia. And they had Monte Cristo number 2s, which had always been one of my favorites from 2016. And so I bought them. They were expensive. I saved them. They were in my humidor. I couldn't wait to have that special moment to share them with someone. That moment came, and the cigars were awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
They fall apart.
I was done. They were constructed well. I don't think the tobacco was Cuban, which we hear that. And after that experience, I'm done. I'm always grateful for when someone wants to share something. I've certainly smoked some great ones. When you get a great one, they're great.
Yeah.
But every single time I light a Davidoff, it's flawless.
It's consistent, right?
It's flawless. And so I will take a Davidoff and several other manufacturers as well. I could say that about over a Cuban cigar any day.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Davidoff, you guys know, is my line. Almost anything Davidoff, it's gonna smoke perfectly. It's gonna burn perfectly. You're not gonna have to worry about construction issues.
Right.
You're gonna be able to taste every flavor that they intended for you to taste. My experience with Cubans, and there are a number of Cubans that I do like, but I do agree with Teresa. I mean, if somebody brings them to me, I will try them. But a couple of things on Cubans, like many of the ones I've had have been very tight draws. So you're constantly fiddling and getting the perfect, what do you call the perfect draw stick to kind of clear it through a little bit. It takes a lot, and you have to constant relight. My buddy Chris and I spent 5 days in London right after Thanksgiving, and we toured all of the London lounges.
Such a great cigar town.
It was
such a great cigar
5 days. It was beautiful, but and we had 4 or 5 Cubans every day for 5 days. We had some really good ones, and we had some not so good ones.
Right.
But every lounge we went to was absolutely gorgeous. They've done the sampling rooms, is what they call them over in London, and it was just an experience. It would be great for us to do that trip again. It was awesome.
We should do a podcast from there.
I'd be happy to join you.
Let's do it.
That'd be great. I'm there.
That's where we're going next.
She's quick. I like her. She's quick.
I like Cavendish number 6, where you haven't been yet. Right?
I did go there.
Okay, awesome.
So we tried a couple times to get there, and it was closed for one reason or another. But we were able to make it the last night before we headed out.
Awesome.
And we had a great time.
That's great. And then the Sahakians are incredible at Davidoff too. Very easy.
So we landed. We took a red eye. We landed at 9:00 Saturday morning, and at 10:30 we were at Davidoff of London. And then right after we saw the father and the son were both there, so we were able to take pictures with them. They gave us a tour, and then we went straight to the Sahakian Lounge in the what is the name of the hotel that it's in? I can't remember. It's in the hotel across town. And we spent the afternoon at their lounge and had a wonderful time. It's very nice.
Sounds like future podcast to me.
Follow-up trip, I think.
I'm in.
I think so. All right, she's in.
Follow-up trip. We'll do it. So I know. So tell us about your initial interest in cigars and your movement into the aficionado lifestyle.
Sure.
What did that look like? I'm curious.
So again, 1990. Well, my first cigar was in 1995, and everybody was smoking cigars. Some of you who are local to this area might remember a restaurant called Nathan's.
Oh yeah.
That was right by the corner of M in Wisconsin, or on the corner of M in Wisconsin in Georgetown. And I was a college student at American University and waiting tables at Nathan's.
Okay.
And everybody would come in after work, just sit at the bar, have a cigar. It was very lively, and just that convivial environment was really appealing to me. And so I actually bought my first cigar at Georgetown Tobacco. It was a Davidoff Ambassadrice. And I'm retrospectively upset with the guy who sold it to me because it was this little, it's not even a petite panatella, it's tiny. But that's okay. I forgive him. Yeah, pretty much of premium cigars.
Virginia Slims?
Oh my gosh. And then David Berkebile, the owner of Georgetown Tobacco, was a regular customer at Nathan's, and he and I sort of established a great rapport. I wasn't making a whole lot of money waiting tables during the day there, and he offered me a job.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's great.
And it literally changed my life, because I went from, my intention was to become the Secretary of State. That didn't work out because I watched what David was doing. We at the time had 2 store locations, international mail order, and he was just as concerned about making sure that the sidewalk got swept as he was about running, what was at the time a very big company. And that really made me take a step back and think about what I wanted to do with my life. And
you wanted to sweep the sidewalk?
I don't mind sweeping the sidewalk. I really don't. I think it's that having that attention to detail.
Absolutely.
And what it really reflects is the care and the passion that it takes to be successful in retail, in the cigar industry in particular, I've learned so much being able to, I didn't know when I started working at Georgetown Tobacco that I was joining one of the best tobacconists in the world.
Sure.
I mean, you've traveled extensively. I have too since then, and I've never seen another shop that has as much breadth of selection from an accessories standpoint, certainly.
Sure.
And so, I just lucked into an amazing place to be. And customers who, whether you have someone literally coming in off the street for a $2 cigar,
Right.
or someone who will come in and spend thousands of dollars and not bat an eye. I cannot name me another business where that's possible.
Right.
There just isn't one. And
Right.
so the variety of the people that we get to meet, of course, being in DC, we have so many international customers,
Sure.
and you never know what language you're going to hear, but we're all together over this love of a great premium cigar.
So now you're the Secretary of Cigars.
Right. That could be someone recently called me the Tobacco Fairy. And I think I like that moniker.
I like that.
I like Secretary of Tobacco better.
Well, I'll take it. They're good. They're both good.
Well, good. There you
They're
go.
both good.
No, I like that. I mean, Georgetown Tobacco, it's like a staple across the industry. I know you talked about it a little bit, but what's it like just being able to be there and share your love of cigars with the folks that come in?
It's the greatest job.
Being able to, gauge where they are along the
Mhm.
spectrum,
Yeah.
and then help them with whatever it is that they need.
I think for anybody working in this industry, we really do have the greatest job on earth.
Well, it's good.
I get to do it in a place that has that, like this room, very historic appeal. And then I get to work with, again, everything, whether it's the latest Dusty DuPont lighter, LA Blue Humidor, the cigars certainly that we have coming in, and that variety of people that you get to talk to every day. I haven't stayed at Georgetown Tobacco since 1996. I went off and did other things
Mhm.
and had my corporate sales executive roles,
Mhm.
and I consciously left that to do this.
That's beautiful.
Right.
Because I reached a point where I realized that I would much rather be happy working. If I'm going to work 60 hours a week, no matter what I do,
Right.
I would much rather be happy than have that paycheck. So
But
there is
your
a big
experience in
difference.
sales,
Yeah.
and that corporate experience has probably served you well in the role you're in now.
It certainly has. Yeah,
Yeah,
it certainly
right,
has.
right.
That's, being able to think about what's next. David's always been an innovator. He had the first catalog in the business, different things that he's introduced over the years. And so that's the challenge for me, from my perspective, is to think about, okay, what can we do to continue to
Right.
innovate so that an institution, there are lots of dead institutions.
Yeah.
Georgetown Tobacco is by no means anywhere
Right,
near that.
right,
So
right.
because we continue to evolve and respond, but also guide. I think a tobacconist's job is to be an educator. Whether you're an aficionado or you're a beginner,
Right.
we all have something to learn. And so that's my responsibility, and that's the staff's opportunity to introduce people to things and, make them feel very comfortable in this and get over that
Right.
intimidation factor.
Yeah, I would have never expected the cigar community to be this close knit
Yeah.
and sort of. It's like Harley riders, right? It's like I don't even need to know if he's a Harley rider. If he's a Harley rider, I don't know him.
Mhm.
We're friends, right?
Yep.
It's a bond, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I would say like, and again, I'm just in awe of the location, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know if this is true. Like, isn't Georgetown Tobacco one of the first Davidoff corporate accounts?
We are. So
That's what I
Davidoff
thought.
has what they call appointed merchants.
Mhm.
You can't, not anyone can just sell
Right.
Davidoff. You sign a rather extensive contract.
It's like being a
To
partner
do
with
that.
Amazon.
So Davidoff originally was produced in Cuba, and then they moved to the Dominican Republic. And when
Okay.
they did that, their philosophy is crop to shop. They want to literally control every aspect of that process, from the
Got
crop
it.
to
So
the
it's just
shop.
not a franchise. They have the whole production.
No.
Right,
So they
right.
do have their own stores in that regard. But
Mhm.
for us, we're considered what's called an appointed merchant. And,
Right.
Davidoff chose 20 retailers in the United States to be appointed merchants
Wow.
when they were first introduced in 1991.
Wow.
And so Georgetown Tobacco was one of those.
Perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what's also great is for that location, you think about the diversity of folks and professions in DC.
Well,
Like you said, you have people coming
all over the
in
world.
getting an $8 stick. You have people buying multiple thousands of dollars right behind them in line, right? And so that's just an amazing experience as well. My only hesitation was, I went to Georgetown undergrad, but I wasn't into cigars in college. Had I known, it probably would have changed my trajectory as well, right? Because I went back recently to Georgetown Tobacco for a Davidoff event, and I was at a table paired with a couple of Georgetown undergrad students. That was an amazing conversation because they were regular and experienced cigar smokers,
right?
And they're seniors in college.
Yeah.
So we had a fascinating conversation about, well, what does that look like? Where do you go to smoke, and how do you smoke in between classes, and where do you smoke? So that was.
And the question to ask those college-age kids is, does your mom or dad smoke? Because I have 3 sons, and they're all cigar smokers. I never smoked either when I was in college. I couldn't afford it. But, they all, they had their favorite cigars, and they know what they like, and they're in their 20s and early 30s.
Yeah.
So I was in my 40s before I even got close to that,
Yeah. And most people are over 30, they say, from a premium cigar experience. But we've always been blessed with that. With Georgetown, George Washington University, American, Howard.
Right.
It's different, a little different now because of the smoking age being 21. We used to have a great part-time staff pool in those, so now they have to be seniors before generally they're 21 and we can hire them.
A lot of I remember in 2009 when Virginia stopped the smoking in the bars, because we could smoke at Morton's in Reston Town Center. We'd go there a lot. And the last night was Monday night, never forget, in 2009 when we had the big smoke out. And they shut down the whole Morton's, and we smoked all night, right? But has that affected anything, in sales or anything? Because they've really, it's almost like they've tried to restrict where you can smoke. Because like even in New Orleans, you used to be able to smoke in all the bars. We used to go to New Orleans all the time and have cigars and Pat O'Brien's there. Not anymore, you can't do that.
Well, this was the first time, so it was actually a big deal for us to be able to have the trade show back in New Orleans. The last time we were there was 2015.
Right.
They went non-smoking, and then the only other city that's big enough to host our show that allows smoking is Las Vegas.
Right.
So New Orleans wanted us back. It was great to be back in New Orleans. I think what I see is a cultural shift, and I can use an example from the trade show. I used to go and you would meet a new manufacturer or someone you're talking with at our trade show, and they would say, "Where's your store?" Now, the question is, "Where's your lounge?"
Right.
So that shift from being a true brick and mortar retail store to having that lounge component, whether there's alcohol there or not, that's the big change, I think, from an industry perspective, because people do need a place to go.
Right. Yeah, see, New Orleans, you can drink at 10 o'clock in the morning, just don't have a cigar.
You can't have a cigar.
Right.
Yeah, and I remember, what was this? This was probably before, when did they change those rules in New Orleans?
2015.
I remember we'd spend a long weekend in New Orleans, and you could smoke anywhere.
Right.
And it wasn't an issue.
Right.
But the nice thing is nice outside now. So whether you're out on the golf course or you're just sitting outside after work, it's great.
That's right.
Great time to get together and enjoy the great outdoors.
Yeah, but I think Teresa, you hit on an important point, right? So for me, I will always support my local brick and mortar, right? There are people that will say, "Hey, you can save $1 a cigar by purchasing online," and okay, everyone to each their own. But the challenge is when it's 12 degrees outside, and I'm buying my sticks online. If everyone does that, where are the lounges? Where are we going to go to smoke, right? So I always focus on supporting my local lounge because I want that lounge to be around.
Right.
I want to be able to have that experience when it's too cold outside.
Right.
But I think some retailers are challenged with that, right? Because people are always so price conscious. They want to just go wherever it's the cheapest and don't realize the full picture of what issue that potentially could create.
Well, the other issue is some of these brick and mortar, as you call it, they open the lounges, but it's just like a couple of chairs, and they charge you an enormous, outrageous price to be a member of that lounge, right? And so people are like, I have to find other options because I don't want to spend $1,500 a year just a pleasure to go sit in the room and smoke a cigar.
I think there's so many different business models and ways that people are doing it.
Right.
I think the important thing for us, and to your point, there are certainly people who shop online who are price buyers.
Mm-hmm.
A big part of our business is online sales from our website, and it's not price driven. I think it's more
Convenient. It's convenience
selection driven, and
Yeah.
it's relationship driven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, again, we've got so many people that come in from other places in the country or the world,
Right.
and you know, we had a great conversation, and then you
Right.
know, they didn't realize again that relationship. I'm the one taking the pictures of the stuff that's
Yeah,
going on the
right,
website.
right,
I'm the one
right.
who's writing the descriptions.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
it's still that personal experience.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be this sort of anonymous online click a
Right.
button and something comes out of a big warehouse that you don't know how long it's been
sitting there.
sitting
yeah.
there.
Yeah. Well, we have a local place in Williamsburg called Havana Connections,
Sure.
right? And I go there all the time, and there's a little
Yeah,
place
Shorty
to smoke.
owns. Yeah, I know
Yep.
Shorty.
And they know me by name now because I go all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go in and be like, oh, we got some new stuff, and you ought to come check this out. Or if we don't have it, I'll go into the stock room and get it. So you build a relationship. And I go to check out, don't even ask my name. They know who I am.
Right.
And you get your points, and you get your cigars and go. But I think that's really important.
Yeah. Some of my favorite customers I've never even met.
Yeah, I was going to say
You know,
that.
it's amazing. Like, because you have a question and you can still pick up the phone and
Right.
call and talk to
That's
someone or
right.
shoot off an email. And then generally, I do like to talk to people on the phone. And you know,
Yeah.
and so you just sort of spark that relationship and those recommendations that you can make based on.
Right.
I always tell people, please take a picture of. Nobody saves the label and actually has it with them the next time they're in the store. Take a
Right.
picture, and that way, when you come in, you can show
Everyone
me, and I
knows.
can recommend things that I think that you would
Right.
enjoy.
That's right. That's
And
great.
It makes it's so much fun. I love what I do. I really do.
I can
Yeah,
tell.
I think that. I think
It's
Teresa, that's a great point.
You
though.
should be more cheerful about it, though. We should have happier.
Right.
It's-
Can you
it's-
smile a little more?
It's too
I'm
bad.
sorry.
It's too bad
I'm
you're so.
such a bitch.
Don't. You should really, hold back a little. I'm kidding.
But I think your point's well taken in that it is a relationship business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your customers may be in, and they may be making a purchase, and then they get on a plane and they travel home.
Yeah.
But they want that continued relationship
Right.
and
Yeah.
experience, which is why they're going to the website, right? Because they want to have that continued level of top-notch customer service.
Right.
Yeah, I think
Right.
that's
awesome.
And I think
Thank you for that.
No,
That's
awesome.
what we
I-
try to do. My
Yeah.
whole thought process with the website is how do we extend that? You have had the opportunity to come in the store. How do we extend that experience of being able to come into a store like Georgetown Tobacco to people who may never have that opportunity?
That's right.
And so that's always at the top of my mind. Things like being able to be your guest today
Yeah.
is a part of that. You know,
Right.
being able to talk about what I get to do every day and
Yeah, no, I
Enjoy.
look forward to the email every week. Sometimes, and I always open it. Sometimes I can't even get, to be honest, I can't even get to the cigars. Right? I get caught up. I get caught up on the DuPonts. I get caught up on the accessories. I don't even make it to the cigars. I'm like, oh,
They got any sweatshirts this
That's
week?
funny. That's too funny.
yeah, I never. Sometimes I don't make
There's
it to
some
the
swag
cigars.
in there. We don't have any sweatshirts.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Absolutely.
Got a
Some
hat.
swag.
Got a great,
Get a hat.
great hat.
Yeah, you
Mug, Zippo, cutter, ashtray.
I thought you were going to bring bags of that stuff
Get all
for
the
us. That's
swag.
okay.
All the,
All-
I
all
brought
the-
you a Davidoff.
I know. I'm kidding.
Let me
Limited
This is-
edition.
Hey, I have a question. How many cigars do you think you smoke a day
Generally 2 to 3.
while you're working?
Yeah.
Okay. Every day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not
There are
bad.
exceptions
That's not
to
bad.
that. And
How about
some-
you, Sid?
I'll probably smoke a cigar like four a week. I don't. I mean, at home I have a bar in the basement overlooks the lake, and screened. And Steve's been there many times,
Mhm.
and I just sit back there with have a drink and a cigar.
That's great.
Yeah, nice and quiet. All I hear are the birds. That's it.
No, it's nice.
Love that.
It's nice. I typically smoke cigars every other day, but it's usually 1 or 2 cigars
Okay.
on the on day,
Right.
and that arrangement's negotiated, by the way.
With your boss.
If it was up to me, it would be every day. Yes, yes. The boss has signed off on that. But again, for me, after a busy day, it doesn't matter if it's a full size or a
Right.
Robusto.
I hear you.
Just that few minutes of downtime, right, where you can just hear yourself think, really clears it for me.
Right.
So on the days when I'm not smoking, I have to find other ways to get that
To decompress.
to decompress, and
Yeah.
it's not as easy.
Yeah.
Not as easy for me.
Even just the process of cutting and lighting. For
Right.
me, that's like smoking the cigar is its own experience.
It's a ritual.
But
Ritual,
that
yeah.
stop, the 30 seconds it might take to cut and light, you have to stop whatever you're doing. And
Right.
we're so busy, busy.
Right.
It's so nice. And the cigar smokers really appreciate that. We appreciate that time, that opportunity
Yep.
to slow down.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome, and you know what I like is the camaraderie and the friendships that you develop at the lounge, right? Like I said, I travel a lot, and I've never been to a lounge wherever I am where I haven't met a friend,
Sure.
right? And so
Yeah.
where else,
Even when we go to Nashville, the
where
times
else
we've
are
been
you
to
gonna go
Nashville,
and
you
have
meet
that?
people. Yeah.
right?
So, question: have you seen people's tastes in cigars evolve or change over time? Because people, some people they start light, then they go heavy, or
There are trends. I'll say there
Yeah,
are
we'll
trends.
talk
I
about that
think
a little bit.
A few years ago, the trend was the most ligero, the most full-bodied,
oh really?
and big ring gauges, right? Very big ring
Like
gauges.
Fidel Castro.
Like,
type ring gauges?
big 80 ring
80.
gauge,
Oh my
70 ring
goodness.
gauge, like just
Yeah,
comical. That has subsided. I think everybody's on a journey. For myself, I go back and forth between mild, medium, full all the time.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not indicative of how long you've been smoking. It's not some rite of passage
just what
to
you're
get
feeling
to
at the
the
time,
full-bodied cigar.
Yeah.
That's not what this is about.
Right.
So the other thing I'll say, size-wise, Robustos and Toros right now are definitely the sizes.
Okay.
In the past, it's been Churchills and Coronas.
Yeah. Right.
Things change.
Right.
I see more and more people using V cutters. I
yeah.
think it's because they're idiot-proof. You actually have to know how to cut a cigar.
Well, that's why I use
That's
one.
me.
That's why I use
That's
it.
me.
So I see a lot of V cutters now, and there's some really great V cutters that are being made, and beautiful ones. What other trends? They come and go, and it's just all part. It's fun
Yeah.
of my job is I get to,
Yeah, I can relate because when I go into my
Steer.
humidor, I like for a heavier cigar an Arturo Fuente Gordo.
Okay.
Right? I'm a 6x60 guy because
Okay.
I like to draw,
Mhm.
and it takes me like an hour to smoke it. Right.
Mhm.
Sure.
But sometimes I want to have something really light that's got a really light leaf, and that's fine, and that goes quick because it's a light leaf.
Mhm.
But if I do the Arturo Fuente, it'll be an hour, and I feel like just having that one cigar,
Yeah.
But the variety is good. You can go dark or you can go light, or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I'm typically medium. The full's just a little much for me, but there are so many choices in that medium spectrum
Yeah.
that
It looks
there's never a lack of options for you.
It looks are deceiving because you'll see a cigar that's a dark.
Yeah.
And you'll say, man, that's going to make smoke and tar. Like that Olivia that you introduced with the Series V.
The Series V.
It's a dark leaf, but it's a
Believe it.
smooth
Yeah.
smoke.
Yeah.
It's
Don't
really
judge
not
a book
bad.
by its cover.
It's very
Absolutely.
deceiving.
Yeah. That's again where that relationship really comes in. I see people all the time we have a walk-in humidor, and then we also have cigars in cases that we
Mhm.
help customers with. And someone will be in the humidor and do you have any questions? What can I help you find? And a lot of times people just want to, and by all means, please look. But it's nice to be able to
Right.
steer people
Right.
to things that were surprising to them that they may not have thought they'd like that Oliva,
Right.
is not the rocket that you thought it was
Exactly.
going to be.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very
Yeah.
can be very deceptive.
Very much so.
Well, how about your work with PCA? Talk a little bit about
being on the board.
about
Yeah.
what that looks like.
It's incredible. So I would say the number one thing that the Premium Cigar Association is focused on is supporting the business of specialty retail. But it's around advocacy. You talked about in 2009 what happened in Virginia.
Right.
Whether it's going to be at a federal level, a state level, a local level. We're dealing now with generational bans that have passed in certain towns in Massachusetts. There is always, it's like playing whack-a-mole. There is always something that's going to happen. And the role of the Premium Cigar Association, for whom, all of the retailers are members, is to fight for our rights, protecting
Right.
brick and mortar retail.
So it's your advocacy group.
And 100%.
Right.
And that work is never done. So I serve on our advocacy committee. I also serve on our membership committee, trying to bring different aspects of member benefits to retailers. Again, things like insurance is a great example. Finding businesses that will actually provide insurance for tobacconists is a challenge. Things you would not even think about. And then there are certain fights that we know we're never going to, I can't boost an Instagram post. I can't place an ad with Google.
Really?
Because of what we sell.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's private, it's government, it's coming at us from all directions. And so the support that you all give to us, there actually is now a consumer option for membership with the Premium Cigar Association. It's called the PCA Alliance. And so you can join, and all of that money goes to our industry defense fund. The biggest win we had this year was against the FDA. So the FDA wanted to regulate premium cigars, and Judge Maida decided for us that they cannot do that.
Okay.
So that is, of course, now still being worked through.
Yeah, right.
There's a definition that we need to work out of what a premium cigar is.
Right.
But that was a huge win for us, and that's where that money goes.
Okay.
So, and it's this fight, even when this one is over, there's always going to be one that comes after it.
Right.
So it's really, for me, it's a privilege. It's an elected position to be on the board.
Very well.
And I really enjoy the time. And because I'm here in DC, that was also big for me, because I know I can represent retailers. I'm here, so I can be on the Hill.
Right.
There's a Congressional Cigar Caucus you may not be familiar with.
Nice.
So several members of Congress who support our industry, not just because they like to smoke great cigars, of course they do, but they recognize the small business impact.
That's right.
Impact from an immigration standpoint.
The commerce side of it,
If the countries of the Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, Honduras have challenges, that's a potential issue for the United States as an issue. So it's really multifaceted, and it's really been very eye-opening for me, and I'm very proud to be a part of that.
Yeah. Is there a specific group that wants to force regulation, or
there's so many Sid. It really is. There are all the anti-tobacco, whether it's heart, lung, that's always going to be there. So it's really just a matter of and of course having to differentiate premium cigars, which represent, I believe it's something like less than 0.5% of smokers in the United States, from cigarettes and vape.
Right.
It's a completely different product and experience. That's why that fight.
It's funny. My doctor's like, "So you still smoking cigars?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "You really, shouldn't do that." And at the end of the physical, he's like, "So what are you smoking these days?" He's like,
"Hey, you want to go grab a cigar?"
Well, I saw him out at a charity event years ago, at a black tie event. It was a cigar. It was a fight night for the children, and we're smoking cigars and drinking whiskey. And there he is drinking scotch and smoking a cigar.
Of course.
I'm like, I'm
giving you a hard time the next day.
I'm going to tell your doctor about that. Right?
And your priest would have said the same thing. I'm sure he was probably there too.
I've had our priest at our house many times for pool parties, and it's like drinking whiskey and smoking cigars.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
right.
I think the thing that's interesting, Teresa, about what you said is that the advocacy is so important, because the regulation and the overreach is not just even for the cigar manufacturers and the retailers.
Right.
The accessories folks,
right?
They're in the same fight.
It's a long supply chain.
Even for StogieHub, my accessories venture, it was very challenging getting business insurance.
Yeah.
I couldn't get business insurance.
Did you have to pay a premium for your insurance?
I did have to pay a premium for business insurance, and clearly on my site I don't sell any tobacco products, right? But they put the accessories, they categorize that with the manufacturers and the retailers.
Right.
So the fight is very important, not just it's for the entire ecosystem that needs that advocacy and that support.
Yeah.
It's very important.
That's amazing. I would have never guessed.
And it's funny. I have that conversation with customers, because we obviously have a presence on Instagram and YouTube. And I'll say, "Hey, I can't boost this. I can't advertise with Google," and they're shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, people are really shocked. They don't. And it's not something we talk about generally.
Yeah.
Right. But we're really limited in what we can do. David used to advertise in the New Yorker and Atlantic Monthly and Better Homes and Garden, and you could advertise anywhere. Now,
not so much.
Not so much. You really can't.
Yeah. You think because they shut down the cigarette advertising, you guys got caught in that wave?
It's all lumped in.
Right.
It's all lumped in. It's unfortunate.
Okay.
But we survived.
Yeah. it's a grassroots effort.
It very much is.
It has to be.
It very much is.
It really has
Premium
to be.
Cigar Association is a staff of 8. What they do is absolutely remarkable. With the size of the team, you were at the trade show.
Just seeing the trade show.
Yeah.
I mean, again, over 5,000 folks.
Right.
4 or 5 full days with a staff of 8.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
that's
incredible.
So
Absolutely
that's amazing.
incredible what they do.
Yeah.
and I should probably know this answer, but for the people out there that don't know, like I don't, can you give us your definition or the PCA definition of a premium cigar?
No.
Okay.
It's really
Next question.
It's
So no.
under because it's under litigation. I don't want to comment on
Oh,
that
okay.
because
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
fair enough. Okay.
we're
But-
all smoking premium cigars right
That's
now.
what I figured.
Say that. Yeah.
But yeah, I just was curious. So it's probably the definitions are probably still under discussion, right?
Yeah.
Okay. They can edit that out. Don't worry about it.
Well, thinking about premium, so just thinking out loud here, like what's
It's not a Prince Edward.
yeah, what's one cigar that you haven't smoked that's definitely on your list?
Steve, that's tough because generally speaking, I can smoke anything
She's,
I want.
she's
I
already
mean,
smoked them all.
you know, I really,
know.
honestly, like
Yeah.
I don't have a list of
Yeah.
because I smoke. Like I said, I have the greatest job on earth.
You
Right.
do.
What's the one?
really do.
You're an
So
aficionado.
for
What's
me,
the one that you want to smoke?
I have 2. The Davidoff Oro Blanco 111, and I have one. I just can't bring myself.
What does
to
that
try.
retail for?
I'd rather not say. And then the other
can
one
tell you
is
later.
the
That's
other
because
one is
his wife wants his wife to know about it.
the other one is the Cohiba Bihike 58 that has just come out. So the 52, 54, and 56 have been around for a while.
Okay.
Have not had a chance to try any of those, but the 58 just came out, and I'd love to try that.
Here's my problem. Back to the Cuban thing. So we
Mhm.
have a customer who smokes Bihikes when he's not in the U.S. and he buys them by the box. He's a very fortunate man.
Very nice. Okay.
And so I asked him. I said, "Hey, listen, in that box. Now these things are $600 a piece. He buys them by the box. In that box, are they all perfect? No.
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 So why are you doing that? Why are you doing that?
That's like why drive a Bentley when you can drive, something else that's just,
Well, I don't
as-
know. I'd like to. Well, I just would be in the back seat of the Bentley. Let someone else
you
try.
can't be in the backseat of the Bentley because that's where the mechanic sits.
The Bentley convertible.
The Bentley.
That would be
I've
it.
been
That would be it for me.
He's been trying to get me to buy one of those for the last 5 years.
At
but
least 5 years. I'm like, Sid, let's just go look. Let's go look at it. You're gonna love it.
Remember, we went one time to go look at what was it, a Maserati, and it's like I couldn't sit in it. It's like
Oh, jeez.
So Sid and I have been friends forever. He calls me up one day. And he sees a Maserati online. He wants to buy. He wants to go look at it. We drive down. Was it Rockville, Bethesda?
Bethesda, somewhere in Bethesda. Yeah.
We go to the Mercedes dealer in Bethesda. He gets into what is a full-size sedan Maserati, and he's jammed
Wow.
sitting like
against.
this.
He's jammed
Well,
against.
they're Italian. They're not
Yeah,
designing
right.
it for you.
I know.
He's jammed against the steering wheel, and I say to him, "This is not going to work.
No.
Like
Oh
you
my
just have to get
gosh.
out." And so he gets out, and we're at a Mercedes dealership. So I'm like, "Come over here and look at this." We go to the S550.
Mhm.
I'm like, "This is your speed. This is what you need to take a look at." And he ended up buying that car.
Yeah, but you left the best part out about.
So Sid has a tendency to get hangry at times.
Ah,
So we're looking at the car, and it's around lunchtime, and he's like famished.
you didn't bring a Snickers.
No, he had no
Oh,
Snickers,
Betty White.
no snacks.
Like Betty White.
So he gets, it's taken too long. He gets up and protests, and he's like, "I'm going to get lunch, and I'm going to come back. And if this all better be wrapped up by the time we get back." And true enough, we go over to Famous Dave's. He has his ribs. He's in good shape. We come back.
Bought the car.
He's
Ready
no
to
longer
go.
hangry.
That's
He has
great.
a smile on his face. We drive away in the Benz.
That's awesome.
Right.
But
So it's
had it not been for Famous Dave's, that story would have ended a lot differently.
It would have.
Right.
I would have left with no car.
No car. But that's it. That was a good time.
So where do you see the advocacy going with regards to regulation and all these challenges? Are you making progress, or is it continually mounting headwinds, or where?
There's always going to be headwinds. I think the biggest shift now is to the state and local level. Like I mentioned briefly, Massachusetts with generational smoking bans.
What's the generational smoking ban?
This is a really bad idea that started, I think, in New Zealand. They passed it and they've since repealed it. If you were born after 2004 or a certain year, you will never be able to buy a tobacco product in your life.
Really?
In your life.
Wow.
What?
And so Brookline, Massachusetts has passed said generational smoking ban. They want to do it statewide in Massachusetts. There are other towns in Massachusetts.
Could you go outside of Brookline and buy?
Of course.
Okay. But you can't buy it in that county.
In Brookline.
Right.
If you were born after that year, you could be 50 years old and you can't.
You still can't buy it.
You couldn't do it.
Wow.
So that's scary. And that's the kind of thing that we, of course, are working against.
Does that mean the online cigar providers can't sell to that address?
I
Or
wouldn't
ship
know
to
the
that
answer
address?
to that. But there are certainly regulations we can't ship to Hawaii, for example.
Really?
Can't ship to Hawaii. There are other states that fall in that category as well. So
it's very fractured.
It's just like I said, it's whack-a-mole. It's
It
never
is.
ending.
Yeah.
And that's something that's why the Premium Cigar Association exists
It's
and
really
continues
important.
to work so hard for us, because
Yep.
not everybody is as engaged or has the opportunity to be engaged. I think a lot of people think they're going to retire and open a cigar store and it's going to be so much fun. It's a lot of work.
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 like
And I don't run, David's still running the store.
Sure.
And so there's a lot that I don't have to deal with, fortunately, because he does it. He wants to do it. Which is great.
Yeah. I think just to frame it up, didn't he just celebrate his 61st
This is our 61st anniversary.
61st year in business at that location.
Yeah.
Right? Hasn't moved.
Wow.
Right on M Street.
And he started at 24, you said, right?
24 years old. He's
Wow,
85. He
five.
works 6 days a week.
Wow.
He's a rock star.
He was there. He was there at the event. Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, he's amazing.
85. Wow.
85 is still
3 cigars a day.
Because he smokes.
Telling you.
Right?
Telling you. And the stairs. So there's a lot of stairs.
Up and down the stairs.
And 3 cigars a day.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's my mantra. It works. I've seen it work.
So he's probably not going to retire.
Never. Why would you?
Right.
Why would you?
Well, it's probably not work to him. He loves it. Just like you do.
Yeah.
Do.
It's not work. It's a passion.
It is.
Yeah, no, we talked about this. Do something you love every day, and you never work a day in your life, right? Just truer words have never been spoken. And that goes back to your earlier comment, right? Like I can go and do corporate jobs. I've had them. Sid's had them, but
You know that feeling on Sunday night
yes,
where you're a little bit nauseous?
The stress,
because Monday
stress
morning.
level amps
the
up.
knot
I
right around 8 o'clock p.m. You
3
feel it.
years. 3 years.
Yeah.
I have not. There isn't a day that I don't wake up and I don't want to go to work.
You see, the problem is when you work in corporate America, you take Saturday off, and it keeps piling up, and you open up your email on Sunday night, and you're like, oh man, I got to do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just
doing
get that knot in your stomach, and it's
I know.
always right around 10 minutes after 8 p.m. You're like,
Right.
oh, here it comes.
Yep.
You know it's coming.
Not doing it.
Not doing that anymore.
Yep. The happiest day of my life was when I sold my company, and I left the building, and I got in my car and drove like it was stolen. You know? So,
The X550.
That's great. But like what you've done with StogieHub, I think is amazing. Like what he's created
absolutely.
is a brilliant idea, and
Well,
you're certainly not sitting back and just smoking cigars in your retirement.
well, I did so.
That was a dig at me, by the way.
I was
No, I'm kidding.
I was supposed to just find something to occupy time, but in typical fashion,
You can't.
I can't.
You're like me. You can't relax.
I can't relax. So I think my last day of work was September 29th.
I remember.
By October 3rd,
You were already up and running.
I had gone to LegalZoom. I had the LLC.
Wow.
I had the articles of incorporation, right? I had signed all the documents. I'm like, okay, now what am I going to do? And so, over time, your palate evolves for the cigar and the taste and the flavor profiles. But for me, because I enjoy the ritual, so too has my palate evolved for the accessories. So I have everything just laying around everywhere.
Right.
But in spite of all of that, I'm constantly in search of that next greatest thing. And so I'm like, okay, if I have this challenge, other people have to have this challenge.
Yeah. In my bar, I've got 2 or 3 drawers full of stuff you've given me and friends have given me, cigar holders and cutters and lighters. I could probably give you my stuff. You can put that online.
Absolutely. So that's how the concept.
Yeah.
That's how it was born. And so, I think where it's going to evolve, it will be more of a site where true aficionados go to find those collectible items.
Right.
Like most of the items that are on the site that get the most traffic are those things that you can't readily buy, can't readily purchase in retail shops.
Right.
So promotional things, co-branded things like the Davidoff branded DuPonts are very popular. People are constantly looking for the Davidoff Prestige, and we've got a couple of those. So I think that's where the site eventually will evolve to. But again, it's been 6 weeks, and we're adding users every day. We're closing a few transactions here or there, and so for us, it's just a function of getting the word out and making certain that people know that it's there.
Right.
And so this podcast is a great opportunity to do that as well, and interacting with folks like Teresa in the market that understand the relative importance of what it can mean to the average aficionado.
Yeah.
Has
I think
been
it's
very
amazing.
helpful.
I mean, I don't see it as competition at all, by the way. I think from a retail perspective, you guys mentioned earlier about the boss, right? And I see so many people who will come in, and we carry quite an extensive selection of ST DuPont lighters. And they'll say, but I've got 5 of these.
Yeah.
But if you could offload a couple
right.
that you don't really care for as much anymore as
That's
you
right.
like that new one that's in the case
Right.
on StogieHub, then you've created an opportunity to expand your collection, but I think maybe assuage your wife's concern about the size of
Well, that's
the
definitely an
collection.
underserved market because
Yeah,
most people
Yeah.
who like cigars have tons of equipment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I've still got lighters from 20 years ago that are still good. I just use the new one that I get,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
You know, so.
Yeah.
So is your audience going to be able to see this podcast on the StogieHub website?
So if you go to StogieHub.com/podcast, all the episodes are now resident on the website.
Great.
So you can definitely see them there. You can also see them on YouTube. It's
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them on
StogieHub
YouTube,
on YouTube,
Right.
and then we're also on Spotify as well as Apple
Really?
Podcasts.
It's because we're
Absolutely.
old school. I watched them on YouTube too.
I do
I'm
too.
not.
Oh.
I've never been in the podcast because I'm not in the car for more than 15
Yeah,
minutes.
okay.
You know,
Yeah.
so I don't have that big commute.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm still waiting for them to put it on VHS tape so I can watch it on my VCR.
Beta?
Betamax.
Beta?
Right,
Betamax.
exactly.
No, but
We're
actually,
really dating ourselves.
Actually,
I know, right?
the coolest thing is the other day, I was on an hour or so drive, so I just pulled up the podcast in
I know,
my
right?
car,
So cool.
and because I have this huge screen in my car, it literally had the Burn and Learn logo, it had my name on the screen, and I'm listening to my own podcast. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Only in America.
Thought that was awesome.
Congratulations.
No, I
Congrats,
appreciate that. Appreciate that.
That's my definition of a good cigar. You take the band off, you keep smoking. That's a good
Oh
cigar.
yeah, I've already.
That's
You know.
I got one more band to go.
So how do you like it?
I love it.
I
love it.
have never had a Davidoff that I do not like.
It's very smooth.
My favorite, if I could smoke them every day, would be the Royal Release Robusto. Teresa introduced me to the unbanded ones, which
They were so good.
helps a little bit, right? But they are so good.
They were so good.
The great smoke. Now the Salomon's a little
If you got 2 hours.
Yeah, that's
plus.
that's hard
That's
to.
a great. That's usually my Thanksgiving Day
Oh really?
cigar because you got how many games of football? You know.
I know, right?
There's
Usually
time.
3 games.
There's, that's what that cigar is for.
Yeah.
So we have one. So they just arrived today. We haven't put them out yet. One of the things I'm really excited about from the show is a company called Sans Pareil. So they're using all vintage tobacco. It's a very high-end line blended by Hochi Blanco. And when they sent, I was interested in maybe carrying them, and David Swinburne, who owns that company, sent us samples.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Have you seen the Super Lancero?"
Mm-hmm.
And I made fun of it. It's this long. It's
Oh my.
maybe a 38 ring gauge. Don't quote me. I'm sorry, David. But, I'm like, God, this is a gimmick. And so I was in a funny mood in the store one day, and I said, I'm going to smoke this thing. And it was freaking
Was it good? It was good?
fantastic.
Mhm.
Fantastic.
38 ring gauge.
It's a Lancero. It's a
Lancero.
Lancero. It's a
Right.
super
Yeah.
Lancero. And
Yeah.
to make a Lancero, generally, I think Lanceros are cigar nerd shapes. That's you generally will get more flavor from the wrapper because
Wrapper. Yeah.
and so true cigar nerds, the Lancero is usually where we might go. And I'm a huge fan. But oftentimes you'll find that to have one that burns without going out is tough. Just because of that ring gauge.
Right,
and
right,
this
right.
thing,
How long did it take you to smoke it?
2 hours and 20 minutes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
It was,
Those cigars. I mean,
it was incredible. And it never went out. It never went out the whole time.
Wow.
The flavor was phenomenal.
No, we went
So-
and sat with David during the show.
Nice.
And then after the show, I think I tried the blue and the purple.
Mhm.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
both
and
of
the
them.
red. I'm obsessed with
Oh,
the
gosh.
red.
Yeah.
So we've got blue, red, gold, which is and so they'll be in the store soon.
Okay.
They're there now, but
Then-
I have to put them
Then
out.
I'll be down there soon.
Yeah, they're fantastic. And we're going to do an event with David too. So
Oh,
look
very
out for
nice.
that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I'm at the visit next time I'm in town.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Well, maybe you can plan it around the event. Have you
Yeah.
ever heard of this cocktail called 100-year-old cigar?
No.
Mm-mm.
They did a write-up on it in the Post, and David gave it to me, and it's incredibly complex. But they combine Lafroig with rum. There's also Amaro, Benedictine, with like a spritz of absinthe. But it's called the 100-year-old cigar.
Huh.
So I thought how great it would be to pair that cocktail
Right.
with this Super Lancero, because that cigar in and of itself is an event. I mean, that's an experience to smoke that.
Next thing you know, they'll be measuring the cigar by how many drinks you have to have.
to
complete it.
You know,
the cigar.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be looking
It's
out
funny,
for that event.
yeah.
When you get halfway, you're like, I can still drive home. When you get to the end, I need to Uber at home. Right? You'll have to measure by your transportation
That's it.
home,
That's
right?
funny.
That's
Yeah,
it.
but they're fun.
Well, no, this has been awesome. I mean, I absolutely appreciate the cigar.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.
Beautiful
My
smoke.
pleasure. I'm really glad you enjoyed
I'm
I'm going to
them.
save the band, so I'll know what to get next time.
Take a picture. Take a picture.
Take a picture.
I need to anyway, because I can't read the band. It's too small, right?
We're glad you were able to make it.
Yeah, it was
Thanks
awesome to
again.
meet
Thank
you.
you. Really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Sid, thanks for joining.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Appreciate
Thanks for
you-
having me.
Appreciate you joining as well. And,
My
and
pleasure.
with that, we'll wrap up. We look forward to bringing you back on soon. Have a follow-on conversation. And with that, again, we want to thank Rebellion for allowing us to
Absolutely.
use
Yeah,
the
it's a
venue.
Great space.
And again, we look forward to the next opportunity. And with that, we'd like to say good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks for lighting one up with us. That was Stephen Mann. And you've been listening to Burn and Learn. The Cigar Lifestyle Podcast is brought to you by StogieHub. Elevate your cigar game. And Access Studios. Access the power of video. Don't forget to visit our YouTube channel for exclusive content and hit that subscribe button to stay updated.